Alrighty, folks, it's 11 minutes past 7 o'clock right now. It is Tuesday, which means it is time for a visit from our good friend Ron, the car guy from Westside Auto Pros. And if you don't believe the weather forecast, stick your head outside just for a couple of seconds. You'll realize it is getting cold.
Woke me up this morning.
Oh, I'm sure it did.
I didn't drive over here with the windows down.
Definitely chilly, but what does that mean when temperatures start getting below freezing? What does that mean for our vehicles?
Well, the effect it has on you. I mean, you're cold and kind of all shivered up and stuff like that. And the same thing happens to your car. They always say that an object like a car is exempt from wind chill, but it still makes a difference. The fluids get thicker. Mm-hmm. Metal parts move a little bit slower. There's more wear and tear. Batteries, it's really hard on batteries.
That's probably the first thing people are going to notice when the weather first drops is the battery might turn over a little slower.
And tires.
And yeah, unless you have the nitrogen in the tires, like we've been suggesting for a long time, you will notice a decrease in tires.
Tires are a huge thing. The pressure goes down.
The light comes on.
The light comes on, or it's flat when you go out. If you don't have tread and it snows a little bit, like it did this past weekend, you're sliding into the median in the ditch because you don't have traction. I mean, that was our Saturday morning. That was our two biggest.
Oh, I would imagine.
Deals going on is we had several. It kind of surprised me because it really wasn't that slick out, but we had several cars in the median or in the ditch that we had to winch out.
It was just a heavy snow.
It was, and then tire changes. I mean, we were just bombarded with flat tires, tire changes.
Now, the reason for that, could it be because the tire was lower and people were driving on it anyway and then it came apart?
Of course you're going to ignore the light. It's cold outside. You don't want to get out and see what's going on. Absolutely, absolutely. And then it ruins the tires. So,
right.
There you go. But we're talking about some tips for your winter driving experience.
Correct. And not so much when you think of winter driving, you think of like traction and getting around, but ways to avoid what thousands of people experience each year, and that is the need for a tow truck or roadside assistance.
And you guys are pretty good at that. You guys are probably the most active, aren't you?
We are. Of all the AAA providers in Iowa and Nebraska, we have the highest call volume. We average, just on an average day, we average well over 60 calls every 24 hours.
Wow.
There's our emergency number. I advise people put
that in your phone.
Absolutely, put that in under several different scenarios. Put it under jump start. Put it under towing. Put it under flat tire, because you might not remember me or remember my name when you have a problem. But
oh yeah, you will. Ron the car guy. Put it under Ron the car guy. I have a car problem, call Ron the car guy.
Yeah, it's kind of like psychic. Just call Ron the car guy.
So that's your towing service or emergency
correct.
service?
That number gets answered 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I mean, you can always call the shop during business hours.
Right.
And if you don't put that number in the phone, you call the shop at 3 o'clock in the morning, it will give you an emergency number to call. I mean, I tell people that I could never hide. I mean, we're about the most visible and available people out there. But yeah, we've got 12 vehicles. We run them 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, helping people with flat tires, jump starts, lockouts. We had a run. It's kind of funny, each day you kind of have a run on a certain thing. Yesterday there was a run on lockouts.
Really?
Yeah, we unlocked.
That's weird.
A whole bunch of cars yesterday. So I don't know if. I don't know what it had to do with.
The planets or something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the stars and Mars all aligned just right. But some tips to avoid this stuff.
Sure.
Have your battery tested now.
Okay.
Because like we've talked before, Lou, batteries don't always give you a warning anymore.
No, they don't, because if either they work or nothing.
Exactly. They used to crank over really, really slow, and you're like, oh, my battery sounds weak.
That happened with the truck just a couple weeks ago. You went to go to the truck to get it started, and would not start.
Yep.
Just went out.
Yep.
But a test would be able to tell you if that's coming
Absolutely. There's two things we can test on a battery. We can test the cold crank output, the number of amps it can put out. But there's another test that most of the newer electronic testers will do, and that's called a state of health.
Okay.
And it's kind of like going and getting a physical. The doctor tells you the state of your health. I can tell you the state of the health of your battery. And if it's starting to get weak, replace it and avoid it. Or another good rule of thumb, if you don't want to have your battery tested, the average age of a battery in central Iowa is 4 years and 2 months. If your battery's 4 years old,
Might want to
don't
think
roll
about
the dice.
changing
Yeah,
it,
just
Okay,
right?
now
put one in.
let's stay on the battery topic here just for a
Sure,
couple seconds.
sure.
Say you have a vehicle that you're not going to be using for a while, a couple of months, maybe over the winter. Do you suggest taking the battery out of the vehicle and putting it somewhere, like maybe in a garage, or just starting the vehicle every week or so?
I would put a device called a battery maintainer.
Sure, a
on
battery
it.
tender, yeah.
Yeah, and those run about $40 installed, and the reason is there's so much electronics on a car now. You know, not just the radio, but the body computer,
Right.
everything has a memory and remembers stuff, and that's pulling little bits of electricity out of that battery when the car isn't being used. And if you don't start the car for somewhere between 4 and 6 weeks, it'll deplete the battery. The memory does, and you can start the car and you can let it run. But how long are you going to let it run? Is it in it?
Okay.
Put a battery maintainer on it, plug it into the wall, and that thing will start in the spring when you're ready to go.
Okay, there we go.
Perfect.
Battery check.
Tires. Check your tire pressure and make sure they're properly inflated. You can't always tell that a tire's low. If a tire's 5 pounds low, first off, you'll lose 10% of your fuel mileage. And even I, the car guy, can't look at a tire and
Right.
say that's 5 pounds low.
Right.
But you get more than that and you start driving, especially in the cold weather, that tire's going to come off the wheel. It's going to come off the rim, and then you're going to be stuck alongside
Yeah,
the road.
not good.
And while you're doing that, check the air in your spare tire.
Just in case.
We see so many spare tires that are flat when we arrive, but and then more importantly, have a plan before you need service. And I've talked about this in past shows as well. We all hope we don't need roadside assistance or
Right.
have a breakdown. We hope we don't hit a deer, but have a plan in place in case you do. As I spoke, have our number programmed in your phone, or anymore, a lot of people have roadside assistance. They've got AAA or
Right.
it's through their insurance or something. Know what number to call
In case
if
something
you have a
happens.
problem, and then hope you don't have to do that.
Right.
And then also along with that plan, when we get into the slick streets and the roads and there's deer and stuff out, think about it now. If your car was in an accident, what body shop would you want it to go to?
That's a good point.
Because they're going to ask you.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's the
Where to
last thing
take
you're
it,
thinking
yeah.
about at that
My
moment.
guy is going to arrive, and you were in a 3-car pileup through no fault of yours, and your car is disabled. We just want to know where the car is going to go.
Where are we taking it?
Exactly.
Keep that in mind.
And if you don't know and haven't done your research, then someone's gonna steer you somewhere, and it may or may not be the best place to go. So do a little research, ask some friends, and just know that, hey, if my car was in an accident, this is probably where I'd want it to go.
All right.
Now-
One other thing I want to touch on too is in case winter weather hits us and there's a tow ban that goes out. I want
the
to make
tow
sure you
ban.
mention this. What's the deal here?
Okay, the tow ban is the DOT puts that into effect. And what it is, when there's bad weather, they don't want the interstates and the highways clogged up with tow trucks and people trying to pull cars out and stuff. So they put in a tow ban. During that tow ban, it means that your vehicle can't be towed or removed from a ditch on a state highway or on the interstate. And even roadside assistance clubs and even some tow operators get confused by that. I can still go to the Target parking lot and pick your car up. I can still come change your tire at home. I can jump start your car at school. I can tow it off the street in front of your house. It just means if it's on a state highway or on the interstate where there's a lot of traffic,
Right.
they're trying to prevent additional accidents. So when there's a tow ban in place, you just have to wait until it's lifted.
Okay. These are some great tips this morning, Ron. Thank you so much. If people want further assistance or just want to talk to you about other ways of making sure their car is winterized, where should they go?
They can go to westsideautopros.com. Our phone number, email, contact information's on there. I reply to everybody. Or you can go to askronthecarguy.com for more tips. You can see past segments of this show, and you can contact me.
Perfect.
Thank you, Ron, the car guy. Appreciate it. It is